Welcome back to part 2 of our tour of the MITPlayer, the only music player designed for folk dance sessions. I'm going to assume that you've already watched part 1. The link is in the description below. This is intended for folks who've already been using the MITPlayer for a while and want to learn some cool features to make running a session, preparing for a party, or teaching a dance a breeze. Sit back and enjoy our tour. I recommend watching this full screen. So just a reminder of some of the MITPlayer's nicest features. First of all, there's a program panel where you put your dances that you're going to be queuing up for the session. There's a holder, a scratch pad area for dances you may do later on, the selector area with your entire repertoire that works with the search selection area. So you can select dances of any particular type or style, nationality, choreographer, or partial spelling. It provides pauses between dances with a customizable delay. In the program queue, you can put a teaser before a dance. It plays a snippet of the song to help dancers prepare, getting a partner, or forming into sets. And it remembers the volume settings so that songs that are too loud or too soft get balanced out over time. You can change the speed of a dance. And a final nice feature is that you can create playlists for parties, festivals, or your dance session within the same interface of the player. And of course, another nice feature is the dance hall display. It's a clean display with the current dance prominent and their upcoming list below that, and then dances that were previously played over there with a nice little thermometer that shows you where you are inside of the dance. Let's jump in and look at some details on the setup screen first. Some of the most useful functions. This is the pause time, which becomes the default for all sessions. It can be reset for the session on the main program screen. The teaser, how long that snippet of the song plays, is set here, and the hold-off time is the time after the teaser plays before the dance begins. The remember repertoire settings, when you start up again, it retains the prior repertoire settings or not, based on whether this is clicked. Number of weeks for recently taught. Dances taught further back in time won't be shown, so you can set this to be 22 weeks or 18 weeks, whatever you like. Now on the setup screen, we're going to look at the settings that affect the upcoming dances window. You can show countries, as we are here, or we can show the dance complexities. I think that countries is the preferred way to do it. For the type, the choice is either screensaver or on second monitor. For groups that have a single monitor, the setting to use is screensaver. When there's no activity by the programmer on the programming screen, after a while the second screen pops up for the dancers to see. If you're using a physical second monitor, then choose that. You can move the second window to that monitor and the dance hall display always shows there. Outside of the MITPlayer, you'll have to learn how to extend the desktop on your computer using display settings in the control panel. There's also show dance duration. At the end of the dance name shows the length of the dance. Next, the duplicate warning. When checked, after a dance is played, a line is drawn through its name in the selector. When programming, this is a reminder that you've done it already. Show country versus choreographer shows on the top of the main screen under the dance name. If you have country selected, then it shows from country. If you click choreographer, then it shows by choreographer, if that's populated in the database. These settings can be different for each database. If the separate dance groups have their own preferences, then you can show different settings for each of those. We'll explain most of the remaining options later. Making playlists. Under Utilities, the first option is Autoplay Playlist Editor, or Control-L. That brings up the playlist editor, where you can pre-store a program for a party, festival, or a regular session. Notice the stoplight is green. There are two ways to add. You can drag a name from the selector panel, wherever you like, within the playlist, or using the search bar, you can type a dance and hitting enter adds it to the bottom of the playlist, just as you do on the main programming screen. Notice that you show at the bottom the total elapsed time and the number of dances. Now that we've added a dance, you can see that the stoplight is red, which means that we haven't saved. There's a tooltip that shows the accumulated time up to that part. So you can say, I don't want announcements after a half hour. I would like to have announcements after about an hour. There's option for saving the playlist for later or to play it now. Okay, updating dance data. By right-clicking on the dance name, that brings up the Update Dance screen. And we can change anything, the display name, the country that it's associated with, any of its types, its complexity, what repertoire, whether or not you want to make it bold or not bold to show that it's a preferred version. If you did a temporary category, you can later add more detail. If you did a drag and drop or group add, again, you can add more detail. Warning, do not change the name of a file outside of the player. The database will not get updated and your player will not find it. If you want to change the file name, you change it via the Update Dance screen, via this button. And so we can change the MP3 file name to something else. We're not going to do that now. Basic customizations. You can change the mouse icon that is used to position the name of the dance within the program or the holder. So on the setup screen, you can see different drag icons. I'm clicking them, and we have options, several of them, for the mouse icon. On the setup screen, there's selector path tooltips. We can click that, save the settings, and underneath each of the dances, the tooltip pops up and it shows the path to that particular file. And so you can see that these dances come from different directories. And if you're interested in seeing that, that option does that. Here are some cool tricks, not in any particular order. We can insert a stop into the program queue. And let's say we put it before Fandango. On the dance hall monitor, it shows a prepare for teaching message. If we wish to insert announcements, we right-click the stop button, and that brings up the announcements tag, and that will then be placed in the dance hall display as well. Also, we can add any text message to show in the dance hall display. Starting with the equal sign, we can say Joy's birthday request. That appears at the bottom of the program, and we can put that ahead of Fandango. We'll take the stop out. Now, on the dance hall display, we see Joy's birthday request queued up. Then when the previous dance finishes, that special message then shows up in the dance hall display. Because of the limited space we've got, the full message doesn't show, but on the regular monitor will. Joy's birthday request shows. And these special messages can be used either in the program queue or in the playlist. To clear the holder, if you move the mouse over the holder label, it changes to clear holder. And so you get the option to clear that. If you move your mouse over to the program label, you get the option to clear the program. We're not going to do that right now. And we showed earlier that if you have the selector set for a couple Romanian dances of difficult level, people might say, how do I clear this? How do I show my full repertoire? And you can do the Control-C to clear the selectors. But if you have a repertoire set, such as the workshop dances, or a substring set, those checkboxes aren't cleared when you do Control-C. Instead, we have a super clear, which is this button here, or Control-S. That clears all the checkboxes that affect search. Now, a dance like Sevilla Sabellosa starts immediately on the first notes. It's very hard to run out to start the dance. Instead, if you click on the image of the tiny clock within the play button, the dance starts after the pause time between dances, giving time for you to walk from the computer over to the dance floor to lead the dance. Now for the country selector, you can use the drop-down menu, but a shortcut is to type a single letter repeatedly to cycle through the countries with that letter. So when I type A, I cycle through Africa, Albania, Armenia, Austria, and Azerbaijani dances. Now tabs are fabulous for teaching. For a dance like Vidinsko, we have tabs that are defined for figure 2 and figure 3. When I hover over the tabs, there's a little tooltip that shows what starts. And when I click it, it starts at that point within the dance. There are function keys that control these. F12 goes to the next tab, and Shift F12 always starts at the first tab. If you use any transmitter, such as Keith Robrow's radio frequency USB interface, you can trigger the function keys remotely from the dance floor. You enter tabs by going to the spot you want and then press F9. Any text that is in the search box will be applied to that tab. So we look at the tooltip for that tab, and it says Start Here Now. I always urge people to do backups frequently. Under the File menu, the first option is to back up the database, and it writes it to a file with the _BU suffix. Another utility is to recheck the dance database, and I urge people to do that as well. If you have missing files because you've moved them, or files with unsupported diacritical accents or other issues, the results are written to the bottom of the database problems file in the main directory with suggested fixes. To see the dance database for any dance, you right-click the little box, or you can click the top box for the current dance. To search the comment field, that's this first field down here, you start with a question mark, and you can see, for instance, the dances that Fred leads. There are tooltips. These are pop-up messages that show by the cursor when it's motionless. In the program queue, if you hover over dance, it shows the end time. We already saw the cumulative time in the playlist. In the program queue, right-click turns bold on and off, and this selects a dance that would get deleted when you press the delete key. You can select several dances this way, and then hitting delete will delete them from the program. This is a faster way than doing the drag into the selector box. As in most window programs, you can select a range of lines by right-clicking the first and then shift right-clicking the last one. That emboldens all of the dances within that range, and you can delete the entire set. In a playlist, right-clicking and setting something to bold and then hitting delete works the same way. But there's an additional feature to help you move dances. If you add Adama B'Shamayim, it goes to the bottom of the playlist. And if we want it somewhere else, we can move it around by dragging it. But if it's a very large playlist and we want to move it to the top, that's a little harder. So let's put Adama at the bottom. We right-click the name Adama and then move the playlist to someplace further closer to the top. And then if we hit Shift with right-click, the name of the dance moves just ahead of the place that we've selected. You can move several dances that way. So if we embolden these 4 dances and then go to someplace near the top and then right-click with Shift, all of these dances will be applied before Mayim. And there they are. To delete a playlist file, let's name this one temp and then save it. And there it is in the list. To delete it, if you right-click within that box, we have the option to delete temp. You can change a programmer mid-session. Under Options, Change Programmer allows you to select a different programmer. You can also change the database. Under Options, Change Database. And then we can switch from the international database to the Israeli one. So here's some more tricks that aren't well known. Let's suppose that we need to update several dances in a row, say the couple dances. If you right-click one dance name to bring up its update screen, notice on the bottom right there are arrows. There's one set of arrows that are labeled Selected and another set of arrows that are labeled Database. If you click the down arrow for Selected, this sequences through the dances which have been determined by the selector. So these are all couple dances. If instead we click the up and down arrows of the database, we sequence alphabetically through the entire database without regard to the selection settings. Where might this be useful? If you did a multi-add for all dances within a directory during a workshop, we'd see that most of these are Romanian, but not all of them. So if we bring up the update screen with the repertoire setting of workshop, we can correct the ones that are not Romanian. So for instance, this dance, Ketos, is Hungarian. And then the mazurka is Italian. And then Yesh et Le'amol is Israeli. And so this is a quick way to fix all of the dances that have the repertoire setting of workshop, whatever was in the selector area. Or if you did a bunch of drag and drops, you can search for Mars and find all the dances that were dragged there and recategorize these. So this, for instance, is Croatian. The next dance also is Croatian, and we can fix the categorization quite quickly that way by going through all the Mars dances with the update screen and the up and down arrows for the selection. Or if you have duplicate entries that have appeared over time. So you can put %% in the search box, and then you can find all the ones that are duplicated and decide to keep them or not, or to rename them so that they have a unique name. Using the selection buttons is a quick way to inspect and correct your database. More cool features. The program tracks all dances done, so you can automatically assemble a frequency count of the most popular dances for the year. Under Utilities, there's Frequency Count. And you can select the year that you want to start with, and the year that you want to end with, and then say, we just want to look at the Wednesday files, and you say go, and it goes through and finds all the dances that were done for that particular date range. Don't worry if a dance was played multiple times one evening. This will not double count them. This is an honest frequency count. Customizations, part 2, colors and all that jazz. On the setup screen, you normally can change the colors for the type captions by clicking inside the boxes that have the labels and then adjusting the color sliders. But if you click inside the box that's next to the sliders, you can adjust the background color for the main screen. So for instance, we can choose a darkish red, and the background turns to this darkish red. However, if we choose a purple for the background color, the program prevents us from choosing that because it says the color chosen for set dances is too close to that background color. So the set dances, such as Abbott's Reel, would not be visible against the purple background color. So let's go back to the black background. Now we can look at past programs by clicking the View Past Program button, and we can choose any particular program and autoplay the program by clicking this button, just like a playlist. You can see the programmer and play from that list. If we chose a program that Sally had done, I say, oh, Fado, I'd like to do that. By clicking the name, it is added to the bottom of the current playlist. And what about those country pictures that show on the dance hall display? One of the optional directories in your main folder is Pictures. If you have in here image files, when the dance plays, it will display the image named as the same as the country. If you've chosen to show a picture of the choreographer and the Pictures directory contains the pictures of the different choreographers, those will be shown. If nothing is found, it uses the picture called default. Now there's other things that I'm just going to mention. I'm not going to explain deeply. To edit your favorites, if you right-click on the penguin, it brings up the list of your favorites, and you can remove or add dances that way. There's a tabular view of the database, which can be called up by clicking the bottom right button, and you can edit things that way. There's a tone control under Utilities, Tone Control, or Control-T. There's a facility for searching for lost music. Under Utilities, there's a Search for Lost Music function. And in the Country drop-down menu, you can define country hierarchies. So you can have a list of countries that are brought up when you select Balkan, or a list of countries when you select South America, or any country hierarchy that you like. So for further information, look at Neil Rosen's PowerPoint presentation, or just Google the MITPlayer. I hope you learned a lot about the MITPlayer, and you will enjoy using it for many years for your groups. Thanks for watching.